1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here, hey, ha. All right, what did I get up to?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of How Many, the only podcast on the internet that counts. You know it's fall when Starbucks and everyone else is pushing pumpkin spice everything. Troy Aikman is back on his weekly show on The Ticket, and we here at How Many make our patented preseason Cowboy picks. Oh, wait, we're a week late. I am Jesse Jackson. Joining me today is Junior.
Hello.
Bob.
Hello.
And Gary.
Howdy, folks.
We all had, as we're recording this, we had a great night Thursday night going to see the new Mike Reiner documentary, The Old Grey Wolf. And we had that was a good time. And they say it's going to be available on demand soon. And if it is, I recommend everyone doing that. It is certainly worth an hour of your time.
No spoilers, but it is a shocking ending. Shocks you. It shocks you.
Yeah.
I do also want to say I am so honored that Bob took some time out of his busy schedule to join us amidst his 10 new podcasts that he's running. He was able to join us from his recording booth, apparently. He's got a giant mic sitting in front of him, and he does look like he's about to burst into chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain. Chocolate rain.
Some stay dry and others feel the pain.
Chocolate rain.
I do
It's a visual. It's a visual.
No. We're gonna post this video up on YouTube.
What? Oh my God.
At least just your isolated camera.
I so want. I want. And this is so unfair to Bob. Bob has a card for the Bend and Scoop podcast that everyone gave him horrible crap about it, though I have Next Stop Everywhere and Set Listing Bruce cards.
And a Set Listing Bruce mask, which I don't have.
Yes.
Mask.
I was actually jealous of that. I wanted how many masks I could put on.
Yeah.
Just so people would ask me, how many what?
How many what, yes. And by the way, we want to give a shout out to, we have new listeners. We have gotten, I don't want to brag or anything, but you actually can count the number of listeners who listened to an episode. You would need your fingers and toes going forward. We're exploding in confidence and popularity. So thanks to all our new listeners.
It's the Gary effect.
I do think it is the Gary effect. Once Gary has joined us,
Yes, not sometimes anymore.
Yes, so we're very happy.
It's probably Bob's cross promotion.
Now it's sometimes Scott, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do want to acknowledge the absence of Scott. We did try and reach him, but he was too busy on Bikini Shark Beach or whatever he likes doing at the pool. Yeah, so we are here to talk Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. We are the Cowboys.
Game one. So first week has passed by. We are treating week one almost like a preseason of sorts because it seemed like that's how the Cowboys treated this game. They were not 100% prepared, I think, for some of the Rams formations, some of the offensive sets that they took. Lots of injuries that kind of caused some issues too. But what did everybody think?
Well, before we do that, Gary, you, I think, in your normal passionate way, had a mini, I won't call it a rant, but a kind of, this is why we need preseason and what's going on. And I won't I know you won't be able to duplicate it totally, but could you at least give me a little bit of our listeners, a little bit of what you were sharing with us Thursday night about your frustration and the idea of why, as a fan, we should not despair?
Well, I mean, you can despair if you want, I suppose, but yeah, I really believe. So I always watch all the preseason games. They mean something to a lot of people involved with what's going on before the season gets started. You know, there's a lot of young guys that get to show what they can do in front of coaches. It's the best way for undrafted guys to make the team. It's the best way for guys that have been backups to maybe try to move up into a rotation or even starting job. It means something to a lot, but I think some of the stuff that gets missed from a fan base perspective, when everybody bags on, oh, I hate preseason, it's just terrible football. It's the first time they really get to tackle, like wrap up to the ground while someone's trying to break that tackle. They don't really do that in practice very much. And so when you go out in week one and it's the first time you've actually tackled somebody to the ground in 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it's been, you're probably not going to be very good at it. In the game one preseason, nobody would really care that you weren't very good at it. But if it's game one of the regular season, it means something. And so their tackling was so bad in week one. That is one of the many reasons why you need preseason. Another thing I think we saw was some really questionable play calling at times, especially in the second half when they went back to a very Garrett style of run the ball on first down, be very predictable. They got away from play action that was being very effective. I think at one point, Dak was 7 of 9 on play action passes or something like that. And they were averaging about 11 yards a clip on those plays. And when they did those on first down, not only is it effective in getting moving the ball down the field, it's picked up another first down, which avoids third down, which is what we couldn't do anything with the other day. So, there's just a lot from a play calling perspective that, again, if you go through 4 or 5 preseason games, you've got 4 or 5 weeks where Mike McCarthy gets to talk to Kellen and say, look, I want to see more of this. I want to see less of that. I know that this is what Jason Garrett got you to do, and maybe that's still in your head. Clean this up. Let's look at it this way. It also, after 5 weeks of it, if McCarthy's not happy, he takes the headset and he starts calling plays. And this guy's called plays for one of the better offenses for a very long time that has won a Super Bowl ring. So he's obviously pretty good at it. So I think preseason is really important. And I think, for junkies like me that'll watch every game, every snap, even in preseason, it's just some more football.
Yeah.
But I think week one showed that, if you're not coming out really prepared for week one with no preseason, you look like crap, and they looked terrible the other day.
Bob, how about you?
Yeah.
Thoughts on the first game?
Well, in the moment, you always it's probably have the worst opinion about it. Like, oh man, the defense looks terrible. I can't believe the offense with all these weapons can only score 17 points. But I think in retrospect, I don't feel as bad about it because first off, I got to give the Rams credit, man. The Rams, they had a down year last year, but they're still a really good team. Aaron Donald is awesome. He's unstoppable. That he's a one-man wrecking
Except
crew.
for the fact that we've stopped him every time we played him until last weekend.
Yeah, we usually do a better job against him, but he was really good. The big thing I have not a problem with, but my biggest concern really is the injuries. I think, I'm not worried about the offense per se, although, I think Gary's right. I think some of the play calling was a little predictable, conservative. Yeah, there was a lot of Garrett-esque. So I don't know if it was more just they're easing into kind of the new sets and everything or what. But it's like I told Gary the other day, it shouldn't take long for McCarthy to yank the steering wheel away from Kellen Moore if they don't start putting up 30 burgers a little more consistently.
Well, it's not fall if Sean Lee isn't on injured reserve.
Now he's got a buddy to join him.
Yeah, exactly. That's very concerning. How about you, Junior?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Bob and Gary. I do think there is some Garrett-itis that still lingers on this team. the way their mindset is, especially when it comes to Dak. I think he feels like maybe he's got to go the conservative route sometimes instead of maybe taking a chance with an audible and taking maybe a shot or two downfield. But I do feel that is hampered by the injuries. I think the offensive line specifically is a concern enough to where maybe Dak feels he doesn't have enough time in the backfield to actually make a decision to hold on to the ball an extra couple of seconds for somebody to get open downfield. Because I do think this receiving core, once the offensive line is settled, is going to be able to break some huge gains. I think CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, and Gallup have all kind of shown that they are playmakers. And if you can give Dak that extra second or two, one of them can definitely break open. And we kind of saw that at the end of the game with that Gallup catch and that horrible pass interference call, which was really just hand play. During the Michael Irvin era, you would have never seen that call made, or at least not as an offensive penalty.
We didn't even see it made the weekend, other than that one particular call against the Cowboys.
Yeah,
it happens on every deep ball. It's just normal football.
And if either that or the 4th and 3 go the Cowboys' way, they probably win the game. So even with all these complaints, they still almost won that game.
Yeah,
speaking of the 4th and 3,
yes,
I know that Gary kind of disagrees with my assessment. I really think you got to take the points there. I think that is
analytics say you're wrong.
Yeah, I think
I've heard different things. I've heard analytics say yes, you can. So it tells you it's a 50-50.
I think
seems like it's a negligible.
The tie is the way to go there because it changes so many decisions after. Once that tie is in place, you're not working out of a position of desperation once the clock starts getting lower and lower.
I think, and I understand that take, and I don't even necessarily really disagree with it. Like if they had kicked the field goal right there, it wouldn't have bothered me. But what I think this does, and this is one of those things that with a coach like McCarthy, we're so garroted around here for the last decade that everything is always so conservative, and it hasn't worked out for us. I mean, how many times have we tied that game only to go back and lose the game on the last minute field goal? So I think that there's a piece of that was just refreshing for me, the fact that he was willing to do that. But I think what it says to the team, and maybe this matters from a mentality for them for the course of the entire season, is I believe in you, and even if it doesn't work this time, I'll do it again next time because I still believe in you. And so I think it was important that he did it. And they said after the game, because McCarthy's never been an analytics guy, and that was one of the questions when he first got hired is, the game's changed, or you changing with it? And he talked about analytics at that point during his initial press conferences, but he said that he is in with analytics now. And after the game, the writers that I saw said, believe it or not, the analytics say at that point that they shouldn't kick it, that they should go for it. But analytics aside, I just like the mindset. It's not always going to work.
So you think McCarthy is taking the Don Williams approach to coaching? I believe in Dak and Zeke. I believe
using crickets.
I believe in Dak and Zeke.
And I believe in you.
You've lost everyone with that.
I can't believe Junior knows who Don Williams is.
Yes,
shocking.
exactly.
This is why I can be on the World Series of Pop Culture team.
My feelings were, and I know this isn't true, but it felt like just I've seen this movie before, and I'm tired of seeing the movie. And I know that's not true. That is just an emotional feeling, right? Like if they had made the 4th down, I would have been thrilled. But by missing it and then not being able to come from behind, not being able to make a quick stop, it feels like this team has done this way too often. So Chris and I were not watching the game, and he has gotten his new apartment, so we were texting the whole time back and forth, and it felt like And Gary, you're right. It's not going to be, but it feels like this is the same thing we've done for the last 10 years. And I just don't know if we're going to get out of this rut. I think that's the pessimist in me. I also think that is the, our mutual friend Ken Schaefer used to say, the burnt dog dreads the fire. And I think we just, like, okay, there we go again. And I don't think that's fair, but that's my initial gut reaction. I don't know if you guys ever go to Scooter Magruder's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I think he's funny.
He is very funny.
And he's the reactions of after, game Rams. And he's like, I can't take a season like this and COVID. I just can't. And, and I love his videos because he's up one moment and down another. He is just a really well done. And I think, I'm excited about Sunday to see what we're going to do. And I realize you guys bench, no pass interference call. We make the points. Hey, we make the earlier field goal, which was a long field goal. But if we made that one, it's a totally different game.
Yep.
Who did Pucci now label as trash on the team during your text sessions? My guess would be Terrence Steele.
I bet
No.
LVE probably got thrown under the bus.
No, we did
Can I wager a guess?
Yeah.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
I don't think he. In fact, I'm checking my phone. I don't think he gave text for anyone. He didn't call anyone trash. He did roll his eyes about the injuries because it doesn't seem like our linebackers can stay healthy. So
Hypothetically, if LVE misses the entire season and goes on to retire, do you feel like that is kind of a wasted draft? I don't even remember who else we drafted that year, but obviously he was our first round pick.
He's retiring because he broke a collarbone?
Well, I mean, this is one in a slew of injuries he's had.
It's not. He's had a neck injury that's nagged a little bit, but it's if he had another neck injury, I could understand your premise. He broke a collarbone.
Yeah,
it just seems like with an injury like that in the position that he plays.
Yeah, but he didn't have another neck injury. He broke his collarbone.
Okay. Then we are working on the optimistic approach that he will be back and he'll play the rest of the season. And
I do tend to be optimistic. I will grant you that, but I also think that I'm just gonna at this point I'm only working with what I got. Like I don't want to buy trouble. Right? If the guy breaks his neck again, yeah, go ahead and retire. But I'm not going to assume he's going to do that again. I'm just going to work with what I've got, and what I've got is he's a linebacker that plays a physical sport, and he broke a collarbone.
I think what it may be is we all have white linebacker PTSD when it comes to injuries at this point. We've seen this story play out, and we're kind of already set up for the new generation of this.
Yeah, and the thing about both Sean Lee and LVE, even more so with Sean Lee, is when they're healthy, they're really good. I mean, Sean Lee is like borderline Hall of Fame good if he was healthy all the time.
Yeah.
And LVE is pretty solid, probably Pro Bowl guy if he's healthy all the time. So that makes it even worse. It's like not only can they not stay healthy, but you're missing a really good player. And like what you said, Junior, I think if you have somebody that's a first round pick and they play well, but they get hurt, I mean, it's not a wasted pick. You had no idea. It's not like, I guess maybe there was some bit of pre-existing issue with LVE prior to him getting drafted with some injuries, but it's still, you can't consider it a wasted pick.
Well, I always go back to the same thing when it comes to stuff like that. When people talk about whether or not a guy was a wasted pick or a bad pick or a bust or whatever else, was he it's the same thing with Morris Claiborne. Was anybody shocked about where he was taken? No, he was taken exactly where he was supposed to be taken. Van Der Esch went exactly where he was supposed to go. He wasn't a reach. Now you could say that something about like Quincy,
Bobby Carpenter,
or Bobby Carpenter. When somebody makes a reach pick, that immediately everybody says,
Randy
"What are they
Gregory.
doing? Why are they doing that?" Oh, Randy Gregory was a top 15 talent. He went at 60 because of drugs, but so he wasn't really picked in the wrong spot. Except for he should have been picked lower because of drugs. And I said that the day of. because if you fail a drug test at the combine, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
But injury wise, LVE went where he was supposed to go. So I have a hard time using the 2020 hindsight and busting on somebody for a pick like that when at the time nobody said, well, that's a reach.
Well, and I think a good point, as Aikman once said, right, that trying to decide if a play worked or not is that the deciding factor of whether it was a good call is kind of unfair. It just because it doesn't execute, or as people talked about, the Rams really made a good play on that with the 4th and 3. So same thing. It was a great pick at the time. We'll see how it works out. And sometimes you're unlucky.
Yeah, we were talking about the 4th and 3 the other night, and at the time, I was watching the game with Gary, and of course I, pop off about, I can't believe they're running short of the sticks, and he immediately is like, look, man, there's other stuff that causes that to happen, and absolutely, Dalton Schultz ran the wrong route beyond where he was, so he couldn't run further for his route. So yeah,
it is. All right, so moving on, we still have the full season to go. I remain optimistic because by nature I'm an optimistic guy. I think they're going to right the ship. I am a little worried about injuries. I probably would have guessed. In fact, I did at work. I said that we were going to be 11-5. I'm going to cheat and now say we're going to be 10-6. And I do think we'll make the playoffs, but at this point, I'm not sure. I think Bob and I, for the past 3 or 4 years, have said NFC Championship every year, and so I think they'll be 10-6. I think they'll make the playoffs, and then it just all depends if lightning hits the bottle the same way like it's happened with the Stars. They've just kind of pushed themselves to another level and are kind of playing just excellent ball. So. Bob, why don't we start with you? Your predictions, thoughts for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think 10-6 sounds about right. I think they'll probably win the division because the Eagles can't even beat Washington, so they're facing the Rams tomorrow, so they may be off to an 0-2 start. I think they've been overrated the whole time. If you look at the rest of the conference, Tampa Bay is also another team that's everybody's buying into the Brady hype. I don't think they're going to be as great as everybody thinks they are. The Saints are really good. The 49ers lost to Arizona, so how good are they really? Nobody knows. The one that's kind of surprising to me is I think Green Bay might be better than I thought they were. But there's all these teams that are about roughly equivalent talent-wise and expectation-wise. There's not any one team in the NFC that's just head and shoulders above everybody else. So I'm going to say division round, not because I don't think they can make it further. I just don't want to jinx or academy run them. So I'll just say division round and hopefully they'll go farther, but 10-6 and win the division.
I think they are going to go 10-6 also. Originally, I think I said 11-5 during our predictions episode a few weeks ago. I do have the same concerns about injuries. I think the Collins injury is really one that concerns me because I think Dak needs that extra second or two to let those receivers pop open for those giant yardage gains that we're hoping that they'll be able to. Although I will say I was impressed with the run blocking. I was impressed with how hard Zeke was running, and I was also impressed with Tony Pollard and the way he was running the ball. So I think from a running standpoint, we're going to be okay, regardless of who's in the offensive lineman roster right now. But the pass blocking is where I'm really concerned. If we run into any more teams with a really good front four and front seven, I think we may have some problems. But 10-6 sounds about right. And like Bob said, this division is trash. The Giants are terrible. The Redskins are terrible. And from the looks of things, the Eagles are not going to be that great either. So,
one thing I want to add real quick about the offensive line is I was impressed with Connor Williams. He seems like he's taking a step up from where he started out.
Started the game well. The end of the game, he kind of lost some steam, but anybody will do that against Aaron Donald.
All right. Gary, how about you?
I hate doing the numbers thing just because it's
I
such a
understand.
crapshoot. But
Right.
yeah, I'm probably in the same boat with you guys. I'm somewhere in the 10-6 to 12-4. I'm probably on the higher end, on the optimistic. I mean, you think about 2016, they lost the first game. It was tough. It was close. The offense didn't do much that day. And then they reeled off, like, I think 11 straight wins. So losing game one is not like some harbinger for the season. But I'll say that I expect more from McCarthy on offense. I expect to see things that we haven't seen, and we did not see that in game one. And maybe the offensive line was the cause of some of that. But if that's true, then why didn't I see more quick stuff? Like if we didn't see more of the innovation on offense that we were hoping to see, Zeke and Pollard in the backfield together or flexed out more often, things like that. If that's because the offensive line wasn't quite ready because they're injured, then why didn't I see more screens and why didn't I see some draws and some
The
things
stuff the Rams did.
the stuff the Rams did to us? Yeah. So I expect to see McCarthy's fingerprints on this offense sooner rather than later. The defense, I'm really impressed by the defensive line in the third and fourth quarter of the game. I think that they're taking a little time to get going from a scheme perspective. They're in a new scheme. They got 6 new players on defense that are going to be regulars. But I think that they're going to be pretty good on defense. I think my hope is what we're looking at is the lack of preseason has given them some things that they've got to work on early in the season that maybe they could have worked out in camp otherwise. But I think this team will be dramatically different in the last quarter of the season and potentially in the playoffs than they are right now. Think about like the Giants team that won the Super Bowl. That first 4 games of the season, I think they gave up like 35 a game on defense. And by the end of the season, they were shutting down the 16-0 Patriots in the Super Bowl. So that you can make a huge leap in the middle of the season if the players and the coaches are capable of making that happen. That was not the case with Garrett. I'm hoping that that's different now. I'll say this, something that both of you guys references a minute ago. Yeah, the division is trash, but 2 of the best fronts in football are in this division.
Yeah, the Redskins.
The Redskins have a fantastic defensive front, and the Eagles have got a good defensive front that's given us some problems for a few years. If our offensive line doesn't get into shape before we have to face those are tough games anyway because they're division.
Yeah.
So, we could quickly go from potentially maybe a 12-14 because you got trash division down to 9-7 or even 8-8, and 8-8 may still win this division, but we'll see. I'm optimistic at the end of the season. This is going to be a much better football team.
And you mentioned 2016. If we're hoping that that's a blueprint for what's happening this season, we did play the AFC North in 2016, and we play the AFC North this year as well.
Oh, look at you bringing the analytics. All right, nice.
He puts the anal in analytics.
And that's not a very strong division.
Well, I think the Ravens may have something to say about that.
Well, yeah, you've got a good team there, but the rest of them are
Steelers, I think, will be better than they were last year. Now that Roethlisberger's back.
That's an 8-8 team probably.
Maplesburger.
Do you guys, if you get the opportunity, are you going to go to a game this season? Because Jerry World is one of the select stadiums that said they're going to have fans.
So how does that even work? Are they even honoring any season tickets, or is it just first come first serve? What's
Do you have season tickets?
No, I'm just wondering how you would even get in there.
Well,
I think it would just be
I actually have the information. Chris was telling me that one of Real Page's clients that he works with is a season ticket holder, and they did not offer her any money back. They just went ahead and pushed it till next season, so all the money she had paid goes toward next season. But they have reached out to her and offered her opportunity to either buy 2, 4, 6, or 8 tickets for unselect games. So you're going to have to pay. But she lives out of town, and her husband's like, no, we are not flying to Texas to see. Because Chris was saying, like, hey, get 4. My dad and I will go. So Anyway,
The
I don't know.
the expense was pretty extravagant when things were normal. For me to pay what probably are not reduced prices to go and catch COVID while I'm there is probably not worth it.
I think
yeah.
Gary and I are both prefer watching on TV than at the stadium.
Yeah, I prefer watching it on TV, but I would not have any qualms about going to a game other than the fact that I'm not crazy about football live. Like I like football on TV. I like hockey and basketball live.
Yeah, I would go for free tickets because, like, when Chris and I got tickets, for the experience, but absolutely just to go and, oh, we want to do this. It's not the way it used to be when we all worked at Bank Tech and we would, do, because then it was an event. It was with everyone, we would go as a group and we tailgate and
Plus, we
had a
get
good
to fight
time.
Eagles fans.
Yes, we did get to fight Eagle fans.
Now,
Very
if they
nice.
set up a bunch of iPads on the seats and have us all zoom in like they're doing in the NBA, I might
All the
be in
Max
on that.
Headroom fans.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right. Any final thoughts?
Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. Bob, Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, I like what Gary said about them finishing strong. I think that if we see what we saw week one pretty much throughout the year, then that's problematic.
I think it's time to fire McCarthy.
I do think that
Bring back Wade.
I do think it will. It seems like it has to change. And it may be because of circumstances, but I do not think it's because of the coach. I do think he is going to make a lot of changes, and I'm optimistic. So, hey, Junior, if someone wants to give us feedback, how can they?
They can reach out to us by email, the howmanypodcasts@gmail.com account. They can also send us a tweet on Twitter, and somebody will actually read it.
Yes,
and
Junior
quite
has made a hostile
possibly respond.
takeover of the Twitter account.
Junior has stepped up and said, "Hey, Jesse, why don't I manage the Twitter account since you only sign in about every?
Why
3
don't you
weeks?
let me handle the spamming from here on out?" So they can reach out to us on Twitter at How Many Podcasts. They can also contact us via the YouTube channel. Just search for How Many Podcasts there. You can also leave us reviews on iTunes. Lots of different ways to get a hold of us.
All right. And Gary, if someone wants to reach you,
At travel_cowboy on Twitter.
very nice. And Bob, don't you have a side project you're just spending a little bit of
I
time
think we're
talking
running
about?
out of time. I
Yeah,
think
we're running out of
time.
time. Yeah, there's a couple other podcasts, but this is really the main. This is the bread and butter right here. This is the one I hand out business cards.
Look at
for
how
at
easily he
events.
lies to people. It just flows out of his mouth.
Hey, I should be in politics.
So comfortable.
If you listen to Bob's new podcast, the one where he charges people to host while he becomes the guest of the show,
I don't charge people. I just
he
make
will
them do all the work.
That's actually his bread and butter podcast because he actually makes residuals off of that one, and he has a very good pre-recorded commercial that he plays in the middle of the recording. You want to give us some of that, Bob?
I don't have the script in front of me, but
It's not getting paid here. You don't do stuff for free.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you how.
Where do you get your free podcast hosting?
It's a simple
an easy
question.
Yeah.
You're not going to give it a net. You're not going to.
Well, okay, yeah. I feel bad because you guys are always beating me up about it. But yeah, I've got Bend and Scoop for music and Assume the Juxtaposition. You're the host. I'm the guest.
$10 an episode.
Yeah, no cost. But if you're interested, email lukewarmtallboy@gmail.com. We'll make it happen.
Oh, very nice. And as always, we appreciate you listening to us. I am out on Set Lusting Bruce, where I am talking to Springsteen fans from around the world. And I know that a couple of them have come over and started listening to How Many. And I appreciate you guys pulling over and listening to us. I think we've got a lot of topics coming up. We got a lot of good response on our Bands of Your Life. We're going to do a similar thing for movie. We have some movie questionnaires that we're going to do. We're going to go back to some of our bread and butter, where we'll pick some pop culture icons and discuss How Many. And Gary has some ideas that may include bits. So subscribe to the podcast. You never know what's going to happen. But for now, thank you guys for listening. Stay safe. Remember to wash your hands, wear an effing mask, and let's all be good to each other.
I love them Dallas Cowboys.
Come on, y'all! Get you some of that! Well, up in the north, the way out west, even in the east, they know that we're the best in the land of the star. We're living the dream. Texas proud, we're America's team. We're the Cowboys.
The